through the teenage years is already tricky, with so much going on in our bodies and now so much going on in the world around us. In this series, we're going to explore some of these important topics that can impact us right now in this time during our lives. I'm Kim, and this is Teenacious. We all have people who influence us, who we hang out with, who we listen to, who we follow on social media. They all impact our thoughts and our decisions. Do you have people you look up to? People that you maybe go to for advice when you're trying to decide something? Maybe your mum, your dad, a coach, a teacher, maybe another family member? Today we're going to explore the topic of role models and the positive impact that they can have on our life.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I think when I think about role models, I think of two women in my life who I really looked up to at a really formative age. When I was about 10 or 11, these women came to my church and they started teaching us about who Jesus was. They led a youth group, and I think what drew me into these women were just how joyful they were, like just infectious joy. And whenever I spoke to them, they never seemed like weird or, like kind of how I maybe had imagined what a Christian would be. They just seemed loving, and they seemed so genuine and real. I looked up to them so much because I think when I saw them, I saw the way that they treated other people. They respected people. They made people feel welcomed and a part of a community. They just naturally drew people in.
For me, it's always been my older siblings, because me and Gabby were the youngest for 11 and a half years. So yeah, we were always the youngest. So we always had, Jack, Meg, Bridget, Sam, these many different people to be our role models, and our parents as well. So I'd always, see my siblings in this shining light, saints kind of thing.
Do you still feel that way?
Well, yes, yeah, I do, but I definitely see them as people now that I've gotten older. But there have been situations in the past where my brother in year 11 and 12, he started dabbling in drugs, and he actually was a meth addict for 3 years. So it was a really big thing in our household, and it was someone that I guess I always saw as this kind of angel, this really great person, and it's seeing them kind of fall was really troubling to see, especially at a younger age. I must have been 12 at the time or something. So especially he was always the one
Oh.
telling us goodnight stories. He made up these little stories called the Twin Plum Jam stories. And it was really, really hurtful to see all the things that, he got involved with, and, a lot of different scenarios where he left home and things like that. It was a very hard time for not just me as a young child, but also my parents, seeing them trying to help my brother in that situation. And also my sister, who she didn't get involved in anything like drugs, but just being influenced negatively around the people that she was with at the time in school, just dressing inappropriately and stuff, just, eventually almost left home at one point. And it's it was really hard at the time, but now it's so good. Everything's good. Yeah. But it was just really to see these people that I'd always seen in this high limelight kind of thing, and just crushing down.
Yeah, so when you look up to people and you realise they're human, they can make mistakes, that is a big shock.
Yeah, I just thinking every single one of my siblings, I've seen a major downfall for them, and I think that's really helped me in a way to, recognise that people are people, we weren't made to be perfect,
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's huge.
And I think that finding a good role model is just finding a person who's going to help you to be the best version of yourself, that maybe you look at them and you think, yeah, that's the kind of person I want to be. And I'm not going to be exactly like them. I'm going to be my own person. but they help form us in our ideals, our virtues, and they give us confidence. And I hope that now one day I can be that for somebody else, that I can be a role model because of the choices that I'm making in my life, because of the confidence that these two women gave me when I was younger.
Someone has good morals as well, and that's not just because you think you want to be like them because they're cool, but because they influence you in a positive way.
Someone you look up to and someone you want to be like?
Yeah, definitely. Role models. What makes a good role model? What are the types of role models in our lives, and what is the impact that they have on our lives? There is multiple research to show that people who have role models in their lives perform better at school, they have greater self-esteem than people without role models in their lives. So this is a topic that's really worth exploring.
Role models are so important to every person's life, whether you're young or old. I think everybody needs good role models in their life, people they can look up to and people they can trust as well.
Role models can actually help even with brain development, even in good decision-making processes for teenagers.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those important things to develop is almost that critical thinking. This isn't just my narrow view of the world and how I see it, but somebody who has a voice that I can trust and I know is going to guide me in the right direction to just shine a different sort of light onto it.
I think a time in my life when role models were the most important was when I went through a pretty hard time when my grandparents died. They died really close together, and they were the only grandparents I had living in the same country as me. And I think during this time, I didn't know how to talk to my friends because I don't think they really understood what I was going through. And I found myself feeling kind of distant from them, and I just felt pretty alone. But I knew that there was this woman there for me that, she would just listen. And so I felt comfortable to just share with her. And I knew that she had gone through similar experiences in her life that she could draw on, and she really, I guess, gave me advice. But more than that, she just sat there with me and she just listened. She knew that I was probably going through a really hard time, and she reached out. She took time for me, and she gave me hope in that situation that things would get better, that I would feel better soon. She just encouraged me to keep talking to her, to keep doing things that I enjoyed, to find time for things that were important to me. And she, most importantly, invited me to pray. She prayed with me through that situation, and she just kept checking in on me. And I think that I needed that in my life more than I understood at the time. A person who even though she wasn't the same age as me, I just connected with in that place, and she met me where I was at and really loved me, showed me genuine love.
I am more convinced than ever that role models definitely have an impact on our lives. After listening to Danielle and hearing her share about how role models have impacted her life, and personally even knowing the fruits of that in her life.
Often when I'm speaking to young people, it's a question that comes up, and young people get asked this question a lot: who are your role models? And the answers really vary. Sometimes they say it's a sports person, a footy player, or a basketballer. Sometimes it's an actor, an actress, movie star, a pop star, people who kind of have the lives that they want to live. Sometimes you get some other answers, a bit more interesting. People like Nelson Mandela or Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, people who they recognize, wow, these people had a positive impact on the world. Often you would hear Jesus as a role model. And of course, what a great role model to have. But sometimes, and not that often, but sometimes you would get an answer like, my mum or my dad is my role model, my big brother or sister, a cousin, a relative, a family friend. And they were the stories I loved to hear, because perhaps their name isn't known on the global stage, but in their lives, the impact they have on them is massive.
Me personally, since I support I support Manchester United. There's a player called Paul Pogba. He's someone I always look up to.
Yep. What is it about him that you look up to?
He's good. He's good at playing football.
He's good at playing. Yep. Yep. Nice.
What makes him unique?
He plays for my team.
He plays for Manchester.
Yeah, he's got 5-star skill moves, so when I play my mates on FIFA, I can destroy them.
Yeah, right.
Like Harry, my role model is a footballer as well. In particular, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, the boys.
For me, why he's my role model is not only is he dedicated to his sport, he's come from a very poor country and worked his way to the top, and he's very dedicated. But with his money, he donates a lot to charity. He's one of the he donates like the most in like the world
wow.
to charity. He's up there.
That's
And,
a great
yeah.
role model to have.
And so, yeah, for me, that's that inspires me to, well, not only be dedicated, but look out for other people.
Be generous. Yeah. And you like Ronaldo as well?
Oh, it's just the same reasons, really, because he always says he has this mindset of being the best, even if he isn't the best yet. But he always goes, "It's okay. Doesn't matter what people think. You're the best." And that's just how he got where he is at the moment. So it's just crazy to see how it all happened. And yeah, it's really inspiring for like me or anybody else to just do the same and see where you can get just by thinking that you're the best or something. But yeah.
That's good.
For me, my role model isn't actually a famous person. It's a girl that graduated from my school in 2016. Her name is Jessica Norton, and she's actually right now in the army. She just really inspired me.
That's beautiful. What about her inspired you?
She always helped me to reach my potential.
Yeah.
And we were in the same soccer team back in 2016. We won every game but the grand final.
Yeah. Runners up.
Yeah. We were so close, and that was finally my chance to be the best.
And I think when it comes to looking at role models, you don't want to look at what they do or the job they have. You want to look at the person they are. Are they somebody that you want to be like? Because if you want to be a footballer one day, great. You look at the footy stars and you can learn from them. You learn from their skills. You learn from how they play the game. But if their character doesn't stand up off the field, then they can't be a good role model to you. Role models are the people who we want to be like. Are they trustworthy? Do they have good character? Are they people of integrity? If they say they're going to do something, are they going to do it? Really, are they people that you can trust?
Definitely. I think back to when I was a teenager, and often for me, role models are people that I think if they could make it through that hard time, then maybe I can. And inspired me to, I guess, keep going. When I felt like giving up, when I felt like I couldn't get through something in my life, it was an opportunity to go, if that person can make it through, I can. I'm gonna be okay.
They can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Jesus being one of those role models, the ultimate role model. He reached out to people that no one else was reaching out to and said, I know there's a better version of you and I'm willing to journey beside you, so much that they actually changed their lives. They actually were like, I want to be the best version of myself. I want to be who you say I can be. That's what a good role model does. It makes us more than who we are. It helps us make those good decisions and be the best version of ourselves in our lives.
other role models that we can have can honestly just be our friends. And I know in high school I had friends who were a couple years older than me, and they kind of experienced the pressures of high school before I did. But I think that they just knew more than I did, I guess, the pressures that were going to come, and they could, just advise me. And I know that they just really affirmed in me, like when they saw me do good things. And I think I watched them, step into leadership roles or take on responsibilities. Having those friends, really be a light for me and be an example of joy, an example of people who just knew not to take life too seriously, but were there for me in the serious times as well. And I really appreciate the role that they played in forming me as a teenager. And when they left school, I knew that then, little bit by little bit, that was my time to step into that, to step into some of the things that I had seen them doing, like stepping into leadership, taking on more responsibilities, and trying to encourage the young people that I journeyed with as well, like in the same way that they had. And that was a really cool lesson I think I learned.
When it comes to the idea of role models, or the sort of role models we have, 3 people in the New Testament that I think kind of represent the sort of role models we should have in our lives. The first is St. Paul. What's more incredible is the life he led afterwards, going from somebody who persecuted Christians to leading them. He was somebody who would travel, and everywhere he went would always preach the gospel, encourage the people, show them how to live like Jesus lived. And I think St. Paul, to us in our lives, can be that kind of person who's somebody older, somebody who's gone before us, somebody who's like, if you can do it, I can do it. They've paved the way, and they're setting out a path for us to follow. The second person is Barnabas. And Barnabas was a friend to St. Paul, somebody who went with him on his journey, somebody who was there right alongside him. And the Barnabas in our lives can be the friend. I don't think a role model necessarily has to be somebody older than you. Maybe there's somebody who's kind of in the same place as you right now. Maybe they're a friend, somebody in your class who you can look to and be like, I trust you. If you're doing this, then I'm doing this. Timothy is a bit of an interesting or a different idea of a role model. It's not necessarily saying that somebody younger is your role model, but it's saying that every Timothy needs somebody to look up to. And this is probably the most important role model to have in your life. And that's you. It's you yourself. You need to be somebody who will be a role model that other people will look up to and say, that's somebody who I want to be like. They're living the kind of life I want to live. You've got to be a good person at all times, even when it seems like nobody's around. You've got to be a person of character and of integrity.
So I just want to encourage you, if you've been watching this episode and you're thinking, I can recognize role models in my life, that is fantastic. Make sure they're good, positive role models that are helping you be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking, I can't really think of any role models, I want you to look around. There's probably someone at your school, someone in the other things that you do outside of school, maybe a little bit older and a little bit wiser, that you can look to in those times and go, you know what, if you can do it, I can do it too. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
I'm Bishop Eugene Hurley from the Diocese of Darwin, which takes in the whole of the Northern Territory of Australia. And I'm delighted that Shalom Ministry is now in a position to bring some of that good news to the rest of Australia and indeed to the world. Because we live in a world where the media is so influential. It dictates so much of our learning and our attitudes. And so it's so important that the good news of Jesus Christ has to be made available to all people, because it's what we each need as human beings to enliven us, to make us more loving, and indeed to bring about peace in the world. So it's this good news that the Shalom Ministry is trying to get across to Australia now. Let me invoke God's blessing upon Shalom Ministry and all who work within it and all who are the subject of its good work. May the blessed Almighty God, Father, Son and Holy Spirit descend upon the Shalom Ministry and all who work in it and all their families. May keep them at peace forever. Amen.